Well, hi everyone, welcome to Solar.com.au. Today we have another request tutorial, and this one is from 12 Cylinders, who wants to create a diamond text effect. Well, Danny, I hope it meets your requirements, and as you can see, we got the a letter with diamonds in it, and we got the casing around to make it look like it's a piece of jewelry. Now, to create this in Photoshop, it's very straightforward. We created a style for the diamond text, and then we created another style for the casing. So let's go right ahead and create this from scratch. First, I'm going to create the background, which is just a simple spotlight-looking background. As you can see, one blank layer down. We'll click on the gradient tool. We've got white as a foreground, black as a background. We've got the radial gradient happening. Just click in the center of your image approximately and drag diagonally to create the spotlight effect. Now we're going to click to create a blank text. We're just going to, let's say, type the letter G, just because we had one before in the preview. And the first thing we need to do is split our layer into two, so we can have one for the casing and one for the diamond. So let's just duplicate that. We'll drag the copy below the initial layer, and we'll create this one as the casing layer, or the border of your diamond text effect. So we've got a style ready to go. Let's just click on that. And as you can see, it gives us nice highlights all around the edges, and it gives you that edge you can actually start to modify in order to create the diamond text effect. So let's go and bring up the style up. As you can see, we got a drop shadow, which kind of gives us separation between it and the background. The distance is set to 15, the size to 18, and the angle is at 135 degrees. The important part here is the bevel and emboss. This is what gives you the beveling on both the inside and the outside. It gives you the casing effect. And we've got pillow emboss. We've got the depth to 191%. We've got the direction up. We've got the size to 9 pixels. We've got the angle to 135. The altitude to 34 degrees. We're using the double round contour, which is this one here. We've got the opacity of the highlight mode quite high, because we want a really strong catch light. And we've got the shadow mode down to approximately 13%, because we don't want it too dark. So let's click OK. Now we're ready to manipulate the first layer, or the first text layer, which is going to form the actual diamond, inlaid diamond effect. Again, we're using a style. A friend of mine kind of uses a distort filter, the glass distort filter, but this is by far a much better way of creating this effect by using the style. So let me just apply it, and just show you straight away with just a click of a button. You're getting that inlaid diamond effect, as you can see right here. There's a couple of things you can add to it, but let's go and bring the style up and see exactly what we applied. Firstly, we got just a simple bevel and emboss. Basically, this picks up the outline of each and every diamond. So we got an pillar emboss. We got it set to smooth. We got the depth to 351%, which is pretty good. We got the direction to up. We got the size to 1 pixel, because we just want a very thin outline. We got the soften to 0. We got the angle to 90 degrees, the altitude to 70 degrees. Again, we're using the ring double contour, which is this one right here, if you missed it before. To make sure that you turn the anti-aliased off, because you want it as sharp as possible. And next we got the highlight mode to 75%. We can set that to 80% if you wanted to make them slightly brighter. And we got the shadow mode opacity down to 62%. The important part of this style, which is a two-part style, is the texture. And we're using the built-in Photoshop texture, which is this one here. I think it's called Bubbles. That is in the top left-hand corner. We're using the scaling to 9%, and we're using the depth 231%, and we got the link with layer on. Now, if you want your diamond slightly larger or slightly smaller, you can adjust the scale from here. Let's click OK and see what happens. As you can see, we've got a nice texture tone in between, and we've got a nice separation of the diamonds. And of course, this is really nice in terms of giving us the ability to apply the highlights in order to create that mood and of course reflectivity of our diamonds. So let's go right ahead now and start manipulating the casing of our graphic here to make it look more goldy. And the easiest way to do that, as you can see, it's the G copy is the casing style. Now, the easiest way to turn that into gold is by flattening this layer first, and then bringing an image. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. It's a little trick. You don't really create gold by just applying a gradation. That makes it look cartoony and quite fake. So to flatten this image, we're going to click to create a blank new layer. We link it with it. Control E to merge them together. Now the style has been applied and it's nice and flat. And what we need to do now is go to File, Open, and let's bring an image that we already have. If you're working with XP, there's images that come already with Photoshop or with Windows XP. They're usually in the My Documents folder. Let's bring up the sunset just to make things nice and easy. Let's open above the casing layer, or layer number 2. And the first thing we need to do here, we'll actually apply a bit of Gaussian blur because there's quite a bit of detail in there. So let's go Gaussian blur. Let's set it to 2. Click OK. This takes the rough edges off and just gives you a nice blending to it. And the next thing we need to do is change the hue of it. So let's go to Image Adjustments and let's bring the hue saturation up. Click on Colorize, and with gold, you would tend more towards the green, olivey green, and brown tone, as opposed to, let's say, a corn yellow or something like that, because it gives you a much more realistic effect. So more towards the browns, dark oranges, browns, slightly towards the olive green effect. And I'm going to change the lightness slightly as well, just to get a bit more tone. As you can see here, I've got 31, 57, and -11. I'm going to click OK. And to apply that, we're going to click the Alt key, take your cursor in between the 2 layers, and when it changes, the cursor style changes, just click, and you can see that there is master layer based on the background layer, which is the layer number 2. Now to apply that, we can do it in 2 ways. We can choose the overlay mode, which gives you a nice subtler tone, or you can go with a slightly stronger color tone and just set it to color. At any point in time, if you're not happy with the look of that color, you can just go to Image Adjustment, bring the hue saturation up, and of course, let's say if you want a bronze tone, you can change it. You can see it's getting more towards the bronzy kind of a look to it. I'm not sure if you can see the tutorial video, but I hope you can. Or you can go more towards a yellowy, goldy sort of a look. I like that, so let's keep that like that. Now, as far as our diamond text effect is concerned, really 70% there. All we need to do next is apply some highlights, and I usually do that with the lens flare as opposed to using the airbrush tool. By using the lens flare, you tend to interact with the layer a little bit more, as you can bring subtle highlights and also interact with the tone and the shadow areas and bring them up a little bit. It makes it look more realistic. So let's go and duplicate our text here. And what I'm going to do here is literally flatten this layer as well. So just click to create a blank new layer, link it with it, and Control E to merge it. So now we have the second part of our text, or the second part of our diamond text effect, which is the actual diamonds themselves, nicely flattened too. Of course, we can duplicate them, and let's say if we want a bit more tone, you can apply an overlay to them and make them a little bit brassier and shinier. Well, more shinier as opposed to brassier. So you're getting a little bit more of that highlight. Of course, you can apply a lot more things to this. For example, I just turned the visibility off quickly, but I'll turn it back on. Turn the visibility off the background there. Just change that to normal. And now we can go to Filter, and let's click on Render, and click on Lens Flare, for example, and you can apply some lens flaring in the center. I'm using the 105 prime and the 65%, for example, and I'm getting some individual highlights within the diamonds themselves. So let's go and apply a few more. Subtlety is the key here. You don't want to go too crazy, or else it will look kind of fake and cartoony, but I'm just making it a little bit more obvious here, just so you can see it through the tutorial video. Okay, and at this stage, if you bring in the previous one, just link it together. Well, not link it, but change the blending mode of the top, let's say to overlay. You're getting that shiny, that really diamondy type of look, and yet you're getting the lens flare interacting with it, which is pretty neat. Let me just bring that down slightly. Looks good. Okay, looks great. And now we can go ahead and apply some more just for the casing itself. Now for the casing, what I normally do is create a blank new layer, fill it with black, change the blending mode over to screen, oops, not light and screen, and just simply go to Filter, let's go Render, click on Lens Flare, and again apply a lens flare to it. Now remember, flare, you got the aberration lines, and you got to keep an eye on where they're going, and of course you will place them where you have a highlight happening, especially on the casing. Just bring the blending mode slightly down, or the opacity slightly down. That's it. That's good. Now we're going to create another one, and I'll backspace to fill that in. Change the blending mode over the screen, And I'm going to create one that goes the other way. So let's go filter, render lens flare, and click on this side. You can see the aberration line is following this line now diagonally. So click OK. I'm just going to place one right here and just adjust the blending mode of that as well. Looks pretty good. Just fine tuning it a little bit. There's so much more you can actually do to this to make it look as realistic as possible. Actually, you can even change them over to hard light and give another dimension to it. Can you see that happening now? I hope you can see it through the tutorial video, but there's so many ways of actually applying highlights to your diamonds at this stage to make them look as realistic as possible and to bring some life back into them. Because remember, at the moment, they're just a style. This concludes part 1 of this tutorial. Now, part 2 of the tutorial, we're going to go about creating a strand of diamonds. Or imagine if you had a line following the contour of your text here, all around the edge here of diamonds. How would you go about creating them? Because you can't use the same style. We'll create a style specifically for individual diamonds. Or if you wanted to place studded diamonds in the center or around this image, you can do that. That'll be in part 2 of this tutorial, which will follow straight after this. So until then, thank you all for the suggestions. Danny, I hope this kind of answers some of your the questions regarding the diamond text effect. And if you have any more suggestions, please let me know. And for everybody else, I'll catch you on the next tutorial and of course on the site. Till then, chat to you soon. Bye bye everyone.